Like the fire, feel the beat. Gday Gridiron can't be beat. Lift your knee and bring the heat. Brad's the MVP elite. From the outback through the field, we got tackles hard as steel. Catch the passes, make it real. Gridiron warriors never kneel. Gday Gridiron, down under and beyond. Gday Gridiron, yeah, the podcast come on strong.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, and welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, Australia's home of gridiron content for local and the NFL. Welcome to Halloween. It is Halloween, and if we're saying welcome to Halloween, you know what that means. It means halfway through the season. We are at the midpoint. We are at week 9. It is spooky season. The point in the year where coaches get fired, guys get traded, and I don't know, we're back to having teams on buys and we have to pick and choose who to talk about. Boys are back in the studio with me, as they always had. Brad, I seem like every time we come to a American holiday, we ask you the usual Australian to American question. Halloween, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely. A big fat no. I hate Halloween. I absolutely hate Halloween.
I would not have gone tip that you were going to say that.
What is it about it? Is it the dressing up, the sweets? What is it?
Mate. Well, okay. Well, I don't want to get too out of here.
Too deep in the weeds. Come on, Brad.
He's such an Aussie man.
Brad's scared of the dark and he doesn't like kids dressing up. That's what we're figuring out. Brad has nightmares about children dressing up and coming after him in the dark. That's
No. It's so. I mean, it's actually It's not nice. Just in the sense of, so where I grew up, in the, they call it the Willamette Valley. It has the highest rate. I kid you not. This is dark, but it has the highest rate of satanic activity.
Excellent. Where are we going again? I need to Google. Hang on.
Exactly. And they do those people do some dark, nasty shit. So I don't like it, and it's all around Halloween was when they do it and stuff. So it's that stuff I do not like. And then as a teacher, oh my gosh, you try teaching 100 some kids the day after they've been hopped up on candy and had like 2 hours worth of sleep. It is the worst. And we tried to ban candy at our school, but let me tell you, it is like crack to those kids. They would be dealing it under the table, and as soon as you have your back turned, you'd hear wrappers just opening it up, and you turn around, who did that? Who opened the wrapper? And you just...
And Brad's just at the front going, pay attention, what's 4 times 5? Come on now.
That's right. I don't care about your damn Snickers.
I didn't think we were going down this wormhole tonight, but here we are.
Sorry.
Nick, Australian Halloweens, yes or no?
No.
Oh, man.
I was gonna.
I need a fun police drop for you two. Fuck me, seriously.
I was gonna scare Brad for Halloween and wear a George Kittle top, but I thought no, I won't do that. Fair game, come on now. We're all getting along together. That's how it is.
Yeah,
we are getting along together. Unlike the Cowboys and the 49ers. And especially the Cowboys. I thought this week that I threw out to the boys that I wanted to do a bit of a recap of Cowboys 49ers and have a bit of a say about the Vikings game, just because they're our teams and we could talk about them because, this is our podcast and we can do what we want. And then Brad tells me that he didn't even watch the game, Nick. Didn't even watch the game. Refused to watch the game. He knew which way it was going to go and just flat out didn't watch it.
Yep. That's exactly right. I knew what was gonna happen. Is they were gonna look like poo, and they're probably gonna make a little bit of a run, just enough to tease, and then they wouldn't be able to do anything. And that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, I was not. I don't regret it at all. So, Nick, was it worth watching as a Niners fan? Were you happy?
Yeah, through three quarters.
Okay.
And it just, I don't know, because it felt like once we scored last, which was in the third quarter, I thought, okay, this game's well and truly a wrap now. And then Dallas scored. It was like, okay, whatever. And then CeeDee Lamb scored again, and it was, a little bit going in the back of the mind of, oh, this is the Arizona game all over again. But thankfully, the ball was in Dak Prescott's hands in the dying moments, not Kyler Murray. So, Stafford. So that's where the difference was. And if you hadn't watched it, I think that is probably the part that I think as a Dallas fan you'd be pissed off about the most. Is like they had no intention, they had no credit deserving to be in that game at all. Right? They were dominated the whole way throughout. But the fact that within 2 minutes they had a chance. Highway robbery, and then it was just thrown away like it was probably the most concerning part, I'd feel, for anyone that had watched it if you're a Dallas fan. Because they could have stolen that game well and truly.
Yeah, but it's just, I hate to sound like the pessimist, but you felt like you knew it wasn't going to happen. In the sense of just the Cowboys, how often do they come through in the clutch? Really? They won the game against Pittsburgh, on the last play of the game. Great, but how often does that happen? It's just Dak's Dak. I wasn't a believer in giving him this big extension. I'm not pro Dak, so let's just we'll leave it at that.
Well, at least neither of your teams played in a game that ended up in absolute disappointment for every football fan watching Thursday night football.
True.
Yeah. And I mean, I could be accused of being angry about it just because the Vikings lost. I'm more disappointed that the Vikings lost because we should have played better than we did, especially defense. But again, we were playing against Sean McVay, who is the architect of this type of offense.
Off a bye.
Yeah, off a bye. So he if there's anyone that was going to beat your defense, who was played alongside of a Kevin O'Connell offense, it was going to be Sean McVay, 100%.
Yeah.
So, and that's just the way it is. But as a football fan, absolutely furious at the way that game ended, that Vikings game ended. It should not ever happen that way. And the fact that the NFL still has these weird holes and inconsistencies just shits me. Absolutely shits me. They say things like every scoring play is reviewable, and that they do all these reviews inside 2 minutes. But when you point out the fact that the safety is a scoring play, they go, "Oh no, just not that scoring play." So what are you doing? You say, "Oh, so what? No defensive ones?" No, the defensive ones are reviewable, just not that one, not that one. So it's just stupid. It's so dumb, and it's just a hole, and it's just, I guess it ruined what was going to be a big finish, whether the Vikings won or not. But it was just, if they went down the field and they still lost, it would have been a big finish for all football fans. Yeah.
I feel like, though, them saying that after the game is probably their coping mechanism of they've probably gone back, had a look at it and gone, yeah, we probably fucked up. And that's probably just their throwaway, just saying, oh, well, we couldn't review it, maybe sort of thing. Whereas they, stuck to the guns of, this is our decision. Which they should have been overturned.
But again, if the rule set said that all scoring plays without doubt were reviewable, then that means anytime you put points on the board, you have to review that play that put those points on the board. Because they review extra points just to make sure that they're all legal. They review free kicks to make sure that they're legal. Field goals. Turnovers they review.
And technically, it is a turnover too.
Yeah, but not a safety. But we don't review a safety, so it just doesn't make any sense. And, I mean, we all know, if you see a quarterback or any player whose head snaps around like that, there's usually something's going on.
Yeah,
Usually.
there's a reason.
There's a reason. People are. He's not a poltergeist.
And I don't know if you notice this as well.
Exorcist, but yes.
I don't know if you noticed this as well, but I can't remember who made the tackle. I think it was Young. He instantly, as soon as he went to ground, hands the head.
He knew
it straight away. There was no celebration, nothing.
And he actually said in an interview after, he said, I actually thought I got a horse tackle, but yes, I thought it would have been. I did wrong. The horse collar tackle.
Yeah.
Like he thought he'd got a horse collar tackle, not his face mask. But he thought, yes, I've screwed up here, So anyway, that's how disappointing with football was last week. It annoyed me so much. It should annoy you. You barely scored any points, Nick. One quarter.
What's that?
1 quarter is the only one you scored proper points in.
Well, that's true.
A 21-3.
That's true. Nah, well, it's good that we're going into the bye week, but yeah, big stretch coming.
Yeah, lucky for the 49ers. You need health on your side right now.
Oh, we need more than health. We need a whole new squad at this point. People that are just available. It doesn't matter how good you are. Just can you go through a whole game?
Snake bit for sure. Astute listeners may have noticed a distinct lack of overreactions pod the last couple of weeks. I've been trying to get a few ducks in a row in terms of having someone else to help me out on that show and available times and all that sort of stuff. So I think I have someone lined up finally. Next week, we may hear a brand new voice to the podcast for the Overreactions pod. So listen out for that. But for now, the boys and I are going to choose a story each from around the league. I did our usual consult Gday AI for some top storylines, pulled out some overreactions from last week. And the boys, and we're just going to pick out a story each just to have a bit of a chat about, just to get some, some feelings on something that's sticking out to us right now in the NFL. Brad, do you want to kick us off? What have you got? What did you pull out of the ether?
Yeah, well, it's hanging low in the ether. It's
how low does it go?
Anthony Richardson is done in the NFL. Overreaction or not?
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I went
overreacting.
So, okay, I can see the way I phrased that, done in the NFL. I can see how people would say it's a bit of an overreaction. But my argument would be he's probably done at the Colts in the sense of, tell me the last quarterback that was drafted in the first round that a team benched and then said quarterback came back and did something and was relevant. I was thinking about this earlier today, and I couldn't remember one. Not one. So I'm sure there's probably some out there. I think Terry Bradshaw got benched as a rookie, or I know he didn't start for a long time, but we're going back to the 70s for that. So I don't know anything in the modern era where that's happened. And I love Shane Steichen in his press conference when he says it's a tough decision. Shane, that was not a tough decision. The guy is on a historic low for accuracy level. He's in the mid 40% for accuracy level. And then his other quote, which I found is interesting. I'm parsing it apart here a little bit, but he says, I feel like Joe gives us the best chance to win right now. And he says, I'm not giving up on Anthony Richardson. But the problem is the rest of the locker room has given up on Anthony Richardson. And apparently everything I've read and heard and listened to is it sounds like a lot of it has to do not so much with as much as his play on the field. Like he was getting somewhat better and his last game wasn't that bad. But it's the fact that his teammates don't feel like he's giving everything to the game. And then obviously when you're in this type of situation where guys are getting paid millions of dollars or want to get paid in many more millions of dollars, if you're not giving your all, then especially as a quarterback, you've lost the room. So that's what I think is going on. And it didn't help himself when he tapped out and then said it was because he was tired. I mean, that's just stupid. So that's my overreaction.
Steichen said that he actually went to Irsay and had a discussion about it, and that it was all his decision to make that change. He phrases it as he thinks it's that Flacco gives him the best chance to win now, which he does. He does, and that is the reality. Richardson still needs a lot of learning. He's only really played 10 games, and that's not a lot. He really is so fresh, and he was so fresh into the NFL as well. He played bugger all. So the guy really does need to learn a lot about NFL, the way things are conducted, the way he has to do everything, I guess. The fact that you should lie to the media at some points as a QB1, that's just going to be, you have to. You can't be that honest. The fact that he thought he could just be that honest with media and say I was tired and that it wasn't going to be a big thing is just crazy.
And then everybody would be like, oh, okay, yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, no, you come up, you go, oh, I felt something pull in my arm, and I just wanted to get checked out. You know, you know, my legs hurt after that big run. I just, something with my knee. So you just go, it's just tiny lie that says I had to go off and just make sure everything was okay, and then everything would be fine. But here we are.
Exactly.
Learn the lie, Anthony.
But I think what people forget is that this guy came in and he was supposed to be a project quarterback.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
He was supposed to be a project quarterback because he didn't play very many games at all. Even at Florida, even an SEC team like Florida, and I was surprised that when they knew he was a project quarterback, they wanted to start him last year. And then he got injured, and that happened, had an ACL. Then they decided to put him back in this year, and I couldn't understand when they had brought in Flacco, who was, very good with the Browns, who stepped in. Why would they not have just kept Richardson as the backup and kept Flacco as the starter, just to be able to help him along the way, to be able to, develop, get better, because I feel like if they had done that, it would have been a lot better than what they've done now, which is, Richardson's the starter, but now we're going to destroy your confidence, and we're going to say, no, we're going to bench you for the rest of the year, and then we'll see how we go next year. It sort of just messes around a little bit. The saying is it's not a good look, but the guy has got enough talent to be able to buy enough time in this league, surely.
You would think so, Nick. You think he's got enough talent to do that, but I mean, we've seen another quarterback as well this season get a young one get benched as well for, I guess, almost a similar reason. He's just not ready. So it is what it is, I guess. Have you got one for us, Nick? What have you got? What have you found from around the league? Anything? What's sticking out to you at the moment?
I'm surprised at this because this was a take that I had from earlier in the year. That was the complete opposite of what I thought it would be saying at this time, and that is the Bills clinching the AFC East in about 5 weeks' time, if that. I actually think it could be earlier than that if they win this week, because the Dolphins, could come out and they could say, look, we've got a pulse, the machine's breathing for us, but, if they win, then they're still 3 games out, they've still got to win their divisional games, and they've been a bit behind with those because of Tua being out. But yeah, if they lose this week, I think it's something drastic has to happen for the Bills to lose it from there. They could really clinch it as of Monday, because really, if they win that, then they go 5 games ahead of everyone.
They
The
go 5 games
Patriots,
ahead. Yeah, 5 games ahead of everybody. I was looking at this earlier. A win this week, which will mean they've got the sweep over the Dolphins because they've beat them week 2, so they'll already have that. They've already beaten the Jets once. They don't play the Patriots until week 16, and then they play Jets again week 17. So it's Patriots, Jets, Patriots to end the season. But I think if they beat the Dolphins here, then I can't see the Jets and the Patriots getting enough wins up in the rest of the time that
Jets
we've
are gone.
got. Yeah, there's no way either of those teams get enough wins up to get that win.
Jets are
Yeah,
poop.
the Jets are good. Jets are poo. Jets are poo. New England's poo. You know, Miami's got a hope, but they can't win. They can tie with them, but
I can't.
it's
Can,
just
can you? Did anybody fathom the Jets being this bad? It just.
no,
Uh,
just no.
I mean,
The answer it's just so bad, Brett.
especially when they've thrown everything possible, I'd give them props for going after it and trying to getting all the pieces but it has not worked. And who's to blame? Because I don't think it was Robert Saleh. So
Woody Johnson, the Johnson family.
well, I think it's just Aaron Rodgers is just a shell of himself.
Oh,
I,
he's not the same. He's not the same Aaron Rodgers. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's just not even
I,
making good decisions on the field. He really is not. He's throwing it late, and he's just it's not the same Aaron Rodgers. I really
It's
hope he's done after this year.
like it's just the way Aaron Rodgers is playing, but also like other decisions, other things that have gone on in that organisation. And it is keeping Salah and all that sort of stuff. And then the funny part is, I've heard that Woody Johnson's stepping back shortly, and Chris Johnson's taking over again. And you know how well that went with Adam Gase era. So it's
Yeah, exactly.
it's just the New York Jets, man. They need to make some kind of change for the better, and it has to come from the top. I think in just the decision making that they've had.
The-
They could have won with Rodgers, even with Rodgers playing as the way he is now, which is just a slower version of Aaron Rodgers than we're used to seeing. Essentially, I don't know. He's second guessing. He's still got those throws, but he seems to second guess the reads and what goes on.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not the usual like getting an absolute dart of a ball out in 0.5 of a second kind of thing.
It's
That's
the Johnson family actually makes the Jones family look competent almost. So,
yeah. Well, they're two peas in a pod,
yeah,
Woody and Jerry.
yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah,
and their defense has sort of been banged around as well. And I think their offensive line is not as good as what people made it out to be.
Oh yeah.
Even though that they still brought in a few guys, they still got to be able to have continuity between each other. But I will say that from this podcast, 2 people had this team winning their division, and someone had it missing the playoffs. I won't guess who's who.
Again, no, we didn't know. We didn't expect. We just said we didn't expect them to be this bad, did we not? Isn't that
That's fair. I didn't expect them to be this bad either, but I definitely didn't think they'd be, close to the reverse of their record.
You didn't pick him to win the division.
No,
I'll throw another bad one out there right now, and it was my thing from this week that's really sticking out to me that I read around and I kind of agreed with and looked into a bit more. I think the Ravens, with that loss to Cleveland last week, have screwed themselves for the AFC North. I think that they might end up losing the AFC North because of that loss.
Really?
You don't think they can beat the Steelers twice?
The Steelers are at 6-2 though right now, and that's the other interesting part of it. The Steelers are coming onto the run where they go on this run now where they're just playing all division opponents, which again they will play the Ravens in a couple of weeks' time. And then they play, the Browns twice in there as well, and the Ravens again. It's everybody all at once for the Steelers, so it'll be interesting. But I don't know. I just have a feeling about that loss to the Browns. It just shouldn't have happened to start with. And I don't know if they go back in to the Bengals, maybe they split with the Bengals. They lose to the Bengals, and I think it might have just screwed them.
That game in 3 weeks' time, the Ravens Steelers game. That's going to be a mass in Week 11. That's going to be a huge game.
To be fair though, with usually with a lot of good teams, every good team sort of has two types of losses that you sort of just wipe off. There's usually a loss against a non-divisional opponent where you go really bad, and it just doesn't work. That was probably their game against the Raiders.
Yep.
And then there's a game in their usually the other game is in their division, their own division, where it's the same thing where they probably expect to win, but they end up not doing that. Where I think that was probably their game this week. So I feel with the Ravens, I see what you're saying, Ian, but I think we're forgetting Pittsburgh's run home is absolutely
it's horrendous.
It's horrendous.
It's horrendous because of the division, all the division matchups in like 6 weeks. So
their gimme game. Preseason, looking at this, their gimme game was at Washington. That was their gimme game. So they've got the bye this week at Washington.
Yeah, it ain't now.
Ravens at the Browns, at the Bengals. The Browns at Philly, at Baltimore, Kansas City, and then finishing with the Bengals.
And I reckon,
still don't think they're winning the division.
I didn't say they were winning the division. I just said Baltimore might have screwed it for themselves. I think the Browns, if the Browns keep on with Jameis, those two games against the Browns for the Steelers are going to be very interesting, and likewise the ones for the Ravens once they get all the way down to week 18. But yeah, the Ravens got their division matchups coming soon. They got Bengals followed by right before the Steelers as well.
Yeah, so I'll probably look past it.
Yep. Anyway, that was the interesting thing that came up to me during the week. All right, so as always, on a Saturday, we've got 4 very interesting matchups that we've picked out of the lineup for week 9 to have a bit of a chat about and just do some preview on. So we might just jump ahead, boys, and jump into some week 9 games. Let's start Sunday night football, and it will be the Colts versus the Vikings. So the Colts at Vikings. The Vikings are now on a 3-game. Here we've got a bit of. I've picked some Halloween music for this week too. The Vikings have lost the last 2 in a row after being 5-0. So starting the season great. The Colts currently sitting 4-4, coming into Minnesota, who I think are going to be very lively after a couple of losses on the road, and especially such a big game against the Lions, and then a very disappointing loss against the Rams. And I can see this being a very hard-fought matchup, but for me, the Vikings just have a bit more, oomph about them coming into this. Although, Brad, we do have the addition of old Footsteps Flacco for the Colts, as we talked about up at the top there.
Yeah, he's definitely going to give him a bump. That's for sure. And I think we've seen this so often when the guys come in, the backup quarterbacks, when they come in, they give him a bump, and guys play hard, and we know what Flacco can do. So he's a good quarterback, or he's a serviceable quarterback. So I don't think there's too much to worry about there. It's just, do they have the pieces to be relevant? And I don't think they do. If Jonathan Taylor can get on a roll, we saw last week he got over 100 yards. So and that Minnesota run defense, I feel like they've taken kind of a step back. So if the Colts can get going on that run game, they might have something going. But I just think Minnesota is going to be too tough for this game.
I think so as well, but I'm looking at that line of 5.5. It seems a little bit large for Flacco playing. I think the Vikings would still get the win, but the Colts now, those guys on the perimeter, I think are all going to benefit from Flacco playing. They're going to have a bit more consistency, a lot more consistency, from their quarterback throwing the ball. I do agree that, like you said, Brad, the last few weeks with the Vikings have, with what happened with Kyron Williams had a solid game last week. Their pass defense still isn't as great, but I still think above all of that, what's going to get Minnesota the win is that their defense is probably still going to shine through much more than what Indies will. But it does feel a little bit like not so much a trap game for Minnesota, but I feel like if they lose this, they are very much behind in the division because Chicago feels got a very winnable game this week at Arizona. So, it's crazy. We could be talking about Minnesota next week. They could be, almost last in their division, which is crazy. Which is absolutely crazy.
Insane. Yeah, that's
Absolutely
insane
nuts.
when you think about it.
The Vikings picked up Cam Robinson from the Jaguars this week for an absolute steal, a fifth rounder. Cam Robinson being a very, very good acquisition. And that is, of course, because starting left tackle Christian Darrisaw ends up sidelined due to ACL and MCL injuries. Horrible when you combine both. One at a time is just bad enough. Cam Robinson, pretty decent player, has had some problems in the past, some suspensions, etc. But he was by far probably one of the better Jacksonville players. So that'll be definitely interesting to see how he comes about. The Vikings also get back TJ Hawkinson this week. Not sure how much of a role he'll play or whether they just start to sort of ramp him up, I guess. But they haven't had a lot of tight end play over the last 7 games that they've played, though. They average about 4 targets to tight ends over that period. So it's not a huge amount. They might end up start putting him in. I wonder how healthy he'll be and how much he'll play. The Flacco situation is very interesting to me as well, as you said, Nick, especially for some of his wide receivers or the Colts wide receivers. I actually picked a few up in fantasy this week just because of it. I sort of believe maybe Josh Downs might have a pretty damn good game or some good games with Flacco there now. He certainly did last week once Flacco took over for a bit, and he was having a pretty good game with Richardson as well. But these other games where Flacco has been playing, Josh Downs has had some pretty good games, and I think that's a bit of a danger for the Vikings. I think they need to figure it out on defense, though. They need to figure out where it went, how to get it back, and how to keep being that formidable force on defense and really scaring the crap out of teams.
Yeah, and if I'm Minnesota, I'm just feeding the ball to Aaron Jones too, because that Colts run defense has not been good. So I could see this being a quick game, literally, and just because it's ground control from both sides, and I think Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor both could have really good games.
All right. How about we stick with NFC North, and we go to Bears at Cardinals. The matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Arizona Cardinals at good old State Farm Stadium in Arizona. Bears come into this game with a record of 4-3. Coming off a very disappointing loss that we all saw against the Washington Commanders, where after the final whistle, after the clock had expired, Hail Mary, which was just unbelievable. The world has seen it now. It's one of those things that's going to stick around for absolute ever. The Cardinals have found themselves in a pretty unexpected position, currently holding a 4-4 record after winning 2 consecutive games against some pretty quality opponents like the Dolphins and the Los Angeles Chargers. They gained a little bit of momentum and probably some confidence. So recent success has placed them at the very top, can you believe it, of the NFC West standings. Nick, the Arizona Cardinals on a fair bit of a roll, and you have to think that the Chicago Bears might be stinging after that loss last week.
Yeah, I do think with the Bears, so a lot of games where you see Hail Marys happen, it sort of means that the team that actually won had sort of stolen it. I actually feel in that game, it was a rare occasion where I felt like the Commanders were in control for most of the game, and then the Bears sort of, it was almost like the robber had the goods, got out the store, but then got stopped on the way out. It's like the cops were right there as they were leaving the store. So, and the amount of stuff that happens, once that Hail Mary went up, like the amount of time that Daniels had, and fair credit to him because he moved around, he bought time, made
the O-line, Nick, you're an O-lineman. Fair credit to that O-line who didn't just stop that play. They didn't give up, did they?
They didn't, but there was a lot of holdings in that play.
They never call holdings on a Hail. They never call holdings on a Hail Mary.
They never have.
They never have. Never will on a Hail Mary. You would have to hold someone by the throat, I think, to get a holding penalty.
But also the player that was turning around having a go at the fans, just showboating. I think it was Stevenson, the DB for the Bears. Having a look at all the fans, and they're all saying, "Yeah, the play started." Turns around, and his hand was the one that goes boop, and it just lands into Brown's hand. It was funny as watching that live.
He was actually the way that coverage was designed is that he was supposed to be covering Brown.
Yeah,
but because
how do you not box out? How do you not box out the guy that's like waiting at the back?
So because he panicked. That's why the play had started and he panicked, and they were on full run down the field. And he panicked, ridiculous. And he just went into a different mode, and then he ends up being the one that tips it, and ridiculous. The whole thing is about that is going to stick with that guy forever. It doesn't matter what he could win 3 Super Bowls from this point forward, and the thing that he's got, and be the champion of those Super Bowls, and the thing that will stick with him forever is that dumbass play. Is how he acted like a complete dick in that moment. A funny ending really for the Bears because the amount of close game and on the buzzer heartbreaks that they've had over the last how many ages. It's just really piling up. So it's not good for them, but it's funny as a neutral. The Cardinals, you're right, they have had a few solid wins. Again, another person in this podcast was bullish about how they would go this year. But so far, he's bringing receipts today, Brad. Receipts.
I'm bringing receipts. Don't check mine, but I'll just bring up good ones. But so far they've been good. They're quite inconsistent though defensively. They're not that trustworthy. Where I think this is going to be a game where the Bears, looked at last week and that heartbreak, and I think they're going to come through and they're going to put up points. This Cardinals defense, particularly the secondary, not good at all. I think the Bears will be good on the perimeter. They'll be able to run the ball as well. Kyler Murray will keep it interesting, but I think it's definitely going to be a big day for the Bears.
Yeah, the one stat that I find really interesting is that the Cards have secured 3 of their 4 wins by a total of 4 points. That is, and all those games were won on the final offensive drive. So they've been in some really, really tight games and had extraordinary success, but I don't think that can keep continuing. And I think the Bears have just, their offensive line is woeful. I think you can't put it all on Caleb Williams. That O-line is just really, really struggling. So it'll be an interesting game just to see how if the Cards can get any pressure on it. But I think this will be a bounce back game for the Bears. They're going to be hungry after that defeat, even though they probably know they didn't win. It doesn't matter, or they shouldn't have won. You still have it. You still lost the game, and so they're going to be pissed off about it, and then be coming back with
And the
vengeance.
embarrassment, I guess, of the whole thing, the way that it went down as well.
Yeah,
That sticks.
Yep.
That sticks in everybody's mind. I don't know. For me, this is such a close game. It's a 1 point spread at the moment, which may as well just be even. To be honest, there's no point in 1 point spreads. They just give that for general terms, and of course it's to the Cardinals because they're at home. And I don't know. I don't even know who I would pick in this game. It's a very, very hard matchup to pick for me. But I think I would actually be leaning the way of the Bears because of what you just said, Brad.
yeah. If the home team's only getting one and or has to give up 1.5 points, then really they give an edge to the away team. So because that home court advantage is worth a couple points in the NFL. So yeah,
Interesting though that the Bears haven't won a road game this season yet. All of their wins have been at home. So and by
Yeah.
all of those games, they haven't been far away at all. Like obviously the Hail Mary, the Indy game, they were very close, and even it didn't feel like at the Houston game, but they still only lost by a score. So they haven't been far away with those games.
Not at all. It doesn't surprise me at all that you're picking the non-NFC West team also, Nick.
Why is that?
Just doesn't surprise me, Nick. Just you're all 4-4 in that division. So,
Well, yeah, just about.
pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah. All right. How about we stick with the NFC North? Welcome to the NFC North podcast, where you will hear about NFC North teams all day, every day, and that's just how it is, really. Why wouldn't we stick with this game? The Detroit Lions, the 6-1 future Super Bowl champion Detroit Lions, go into Lambeau to face the 6-2 Green Bay Packers. The Lions, with a 3.5 point favorite here, go into Green Bay to face the Packers. All of those things I cannot believe that I've just said, but I did just say them. The Lions have certainly been playing some very, very impressive football of late, and very aggressive too. They can be 20 points up and just throwing out special teams plays like it's nothing, and it seems like they've got a new special teams play or a new trick play every single week. So the Lions riding on a high. The Packers, on the other hand, are in for a little bit of trouble, we might think, this week, Brad, because nobody knows what's going on with Jordan Love, although at this point it does seem like he is pretty certain he wants to play.
Yeah, I think obviously he wants to play, but is his body going to let him, and is his groin going to let him? And if there's any chance that he could aggravate this injury, you have to sit him down. And so, because don't they have a bye next week?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So you have to sit him down if there's any chance of aggravating it. And
do you feel like there's much
I don't-
difference playing Malik Willis at the moment? I feel like last week they played really well with Malik Willis as soon as he came in.
Yeah, they did, and he has done a fantastic job. So hats off to Malik Willis. Hats off to their offensive staff for putting together just good game plans. And yes, there'll be a drop off. Will it be a significant? I don't. It's not like going to be the Miami drop off. Isn't so. Nothing could be that severe going from the starter to the backup. But it still will. It still be, I think, a significant change. Yeah. I give the Lions a big advantage in this game. This is your game of the week, in my opinion, especially if Love plays. So it's going to be, but the balancing factor now also is Goff is going to be playing outdoors, and we all know how Goff feels about playing outdoors. I don't know what the weather's report.
10 degrees and sunny, right?
10 degrees.
Celsius.
Sorry, Celsius. Which
Celsius.
non-freedom
sorry.
units, sorry.
So,
Okay,
it says here
yeah.
on ESPN 50, so 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. I mean, that's it's chilly. It's chilly, but you're playing football, so it'll be
Sorry.
cold. But it's
Sorry,
not like it's in
brother.
the
Keep
40s.
forgetting that we're an Australian podcast, and I need to convert things to Fahrenheit for you. I just
And,
fucking
and instead of decimal betting, plus 110 and minus 140 or whatever,
The money
Yeah,
line.
money
lines.
Yeah, can we
and
refer to
parlays,
everything
and
in the money? The money line.
make Gday Gridiron great again, Brad.
Yeah. Well, no, we need to change our name to Gday American
Oh
Football.
no! Don't open this can of worms. All right, that's it. You started
Don't
now.
start me, Brad.
You started
Don't
now.
start me.
That's it.
Sorry.
Don't start
Sorry.
me.
Sorry.
It's starting now. Come on.
We're gonna move on. I shouldn't have said
Fire it
that.
up.
We're gonna move on.
I know he wants to.
Yeah, I can get
Yeah,
I get that going. All right, Nick, how are you viewing this game between the Lions and the Packers? Let's move on to the actual preview.
I feel that the Packers would love to switch their game where they would play the Lions at home and have it later in the year when it is going to be freezing and snowing probably and all of that. It's actually quite a good spot for Detroit to be in because even though it is outdoors, Brad, it's going to be pretty much clear.
Sunny
it's
and
not
mild,
later,
basically.
pretty much. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
going to play
fine.
right into their hands. The drop off between Jordan Love and Malik Willis, it's going to be noticeable. But I think can Malik Willis put what are the Lions averaging in the last 4 games, like 45 points or something? Like, is he going to be able to put up like 6 touchdowns? I don't think that's something that the Packers will do. I'm not saying that the Lions will, but if it starts to get out of hand, if Willis ends up having a bad game, could turn pretty south pretty quickly. But yeah, you look at the Lions at the moment. Statistically, they run everything. Like the highest point differential, the second best turnover differential. They're probably I still put, based on their pedigree, the Chiefs at number 1, but easily number 2 would have to be the Lions for sure. Even defensively, they're quite good. Like even on third down, I think they're the best in the league on third down defensively, which is quite good considering. Without their best defensive player, the last few weeks. But the only way that the Packers are going to have a chance is if defensively they step up, and it's hard enough as it is against this Detroit offense. But the only way they have a chance is if the Packers can try. They can't stop them, but they can try to contain them. Whether they can do that, we'll find out. But at 3.5, I'm definitely going to still take the Lions.
But they run. The Packers run significantly more run plays, be them design runs or actual rush plays with running backs with Malik Willis, and I feel it's a little bit. It's kind of an obvious stat. You go, okay, you don't ask your backup quarterback to throw as much, but it seems to be a whole bunch of them are actually design runs that they don't generally ask Jordan to do. So it is more centered around the way Malik plays. So there's that. So I think it's going to be a high rushing game. But Detroit Lions, I said it, and I was serious, future Super Bowl champions. I just feel they've shown us that they can win. They can win with their defense. So they can win a game with defense. Now they've shown us they can win a game with offense, which they did against the Vikings. And then last week, they showed us that they can win with special teams. When you
Yeah.
show week after week, week on week, hey, we can win with the defense, we can win with our offense, we can win with our special teams if we want, and they just keep rolling that way. They're the good teams. They're the great teams, the ones that just go a long way. And yeah, I feel like if they keep rolling that and they keep that momentum and they are blessed and they don't end up with a ton of injuries and guys decide not to carry guns in their car and spout shit to the police and then get fucking arrested for it. Like
Ja Morant style.
yeah, I feel like if things keep rolling for them in this way and in this manner, and they play like they have, and they embody their coach, and they play this angry, aggressive style of football, then they're going a long way this season, a long, long, long way. And I don't think anyone doubts that either. I would put.
I think anything less than a Super Bowl trip would probably be disappointing to the Lions. Whether or not they win it on the day, but anything less than getting to the Super Bowl would be disappointing.
I think they get to the Super Bowl, we are going to see one aggressive Super Bowl too. It doesn't matter who they're up against. If it's the Ravens, the Chiefs, it's I don't think it's the Bills. I don't think it matters. It is going to be. Oh, could you imagine a Buffalo Bills Detroit Lions Super Bowl? Oh, Jesus!
That would be
it'd be a bloodbath.
That would be gold.
So, I'm picking the Lions for sure in this game. A little bit because I just hate the Packers, but I don't know why that hate is growing with me the more and more I go through Vikings life, but I try not to be that stereotypical person, but it just, I don't know.
Maybe Kev will explain it to you. It's like same but different, like sort of angle.
Maybe. I just, large wedges of cheese on your head, I just don't get it.
But Viking horns are okay.
Yeah, because your mascot is a Viking, not a piece of cheese, not a factory. It's a packer. What are you? You're like, I don't know.
Pack cheese.
Pack cheese. You're a blue collar. You're. Yeah. Anyway,
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Amazing stuff. How good are Halloween trap beats? I love this. I love Halloween, and I know Brad might hate it. Well, now I know Brad hates it, so it makes it even better that I'm just playing this stuff. The Miami Dolphins, have had a tumultuous season so far. The return of Tua Tagovailoa in Week 8 could not have gone more awry, although it did pick up some of the play of the Miami Dolphins that we haven't seen over the weeks where he has been out. Unfortunately, he couldn't lead his team to victory against the Arizona Cardinals, resulting in a last-second defeat. And now they have to go and face the Buffalo Bills at home. The Buffalo Bills obviously have been on a very upward trajectory after a very rocky start to the season. Josh Allen has been playing like MVP quality Josh Allen, Brad, and a crucial role in leading the Bills to 3 consecutive victories over the last little span, and they've picked up some weapons, and they just seem to be rolling, Brad.
They really are. They really are. And after that first game against Arizona in Week 1, I still wasn't sold on them, but they've just been playing lights out ever since. And Josh Allen is making good decisions. And he's, very rarely do we have to see superhero Josh come out. So, and I think with this game, Miami's defense, they've just been They're not horrible, but they're not good. So, and their 2 worst games have been when they've gone up against good quarterbacks. So they gave up to Allen. They played him in Week 2 and they got torched, and then against Kyler Murray they got torched. So I think Allen's going to be doing more of the same as kind of what he did in Week 2. And if I'm the Bills, just basically keep doing what you're doing on offense. On defense, it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle just because with Tua there, Miami's offense definitely looks a lot better. And you saw that last week when Tua it's amazing how much this. I'll say this is probably the biggest difference I've seen between an offense when the starter is in and an offense when the backups are in, because they looked pedestrian when the backup quarterbacks were in. So to get to it, and they scored 27 this last game. That's the first time that's the highest they've scored, I think, this season. For them to have any chance in this game, I feel like they have to score in the 30s minimum. So, and I don't think that's going to happen. So, I'm heavy on the Bills in this game.
Heavy on the Bills, yeah. I feel with Buffalo, this has to be a game that they put away. I know we spoke about earlier that they're far in front, and it feels like that Miami should be the one that's really needing to keep pace, but. Buffalo, they win this game. They're, 4 games at least, 4.5 games ahead because they've still got to have their bye. 4.5 games ahead of, whoever's in the AFC East, whoever's going to be second. Take a number out of a hat between those 3 teams at the moment. But their schedule following this week, at the Colts, could be an anything game, knowing what Joe Flacco can do. Then they play home against the Chiefs, home against the Niners. They'll smash us because we can't play running quarterbacks. At the Rams, who the Rams will be improving, and they'll probably be leading the division by then. At the Lions, and then they play the Patriots and the Jets to finish off. So this is a game that they probably want to put away before going into a tough stretch. Whereas if Miami's still within 3 games, they're sort of lurking. They're probably not going to get there, but they're at least making it just a tiny bit uncomfortable. I don't know if this is a situation where the Bills are going to be able to contain Tua like they did when he was playing in that portion of the game where they played them earlier in the year. I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think they're going to learn from that. So I think there's definitely a chance of a backdoor cover here because I think it's +6, the line. Is that correct?
Yeah, around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
+6, yeah. So I think that's probably within sight. And I think Miami has to play desperate as well because they have to get a move on. If they're going to at least reach for the division title, then they're going to be towards the end of the year. They're going to be fighting for like the 7th seed or something. So this is something where they have to sort of get everything together. Whilst their defense hasn't been playing too bad, at least in the passing game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I'm hoping from a Bills standpoint, I'd like to see a lot more of Amari Cooper coming into these games. He only had like 5 catches or something last week after a pretty good week 1. You would think by now he should be able to get a handle on Bills' offense. And I was surprised in the difference in play between the Dolphins without Tua and with Tua. It kind of, I guess we all had a head-scratching moments of what happened to Tyreek Hill and what happened to the Dolphins. Where was all this explosive play? And I guess you can put it down to the fact that you haven't sort of thought about backup quarterback, which, I mean, coming out of 2023, what are you doing if you're a franchise that hasn't thought about a backup quarterback? But, I was just kind of surprised it was that bad.
Yeah, and I suppose you are right in a way that at least for the Dolphins, they had a great run last year with Tua not being injured because previous to that was their biggest question about paying him was can he stay healthy, and then he had a season where he stayed healthy last year, and then the narrative obviously along with that was can he win in the big games, which he still hasn't been able to. So it's interesting how the Dolphins just took 1 year and they're like, oh well, he was all fine, so let's just not worry about that. So it's interesting how that sort of worked, where you've got other teams They've had their quarterback in for however long, and they're probably investing in a better backup than what Miami did.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. The whole thing here, I guess, the spread's interesting at -6 to the Bills. I don't know. Something in me still tells me that it's too big. That -6 could be still too big, and I guess it might be a historical thing with the Bills where just not sure. Just not sure how. Like, I haven't seen them blow many teams out, but it is what it is. So over unders at 49.5 though, so that is predicting a pretty fun game as well. But I would have to be still leaning towards the Bills. And yeah, Josh Allen, MVP ranks. We don't talk about MVP stuff a lot on this program. But I would have to be saying he's right at the top of that MVP race right now, considering consistency. So
yeah, he would absolutely have to be up there for sure. Considering the year that Buffalo's had, you have to be someone that's floating around in that conversation towards the end of the year.
Let's move on. The segment that everybody waits for. We should probably just start putting it at the top of the show so everyone can just listen to it and then move on with their lives, Why not? Or maybe we just make, after the success of last week, hang on, let me play the intro and then we'll start talking about it. How about that?
There we go.
Why don't I get it together, Ian?
We're having a punt, having a slap, just having some fun, and then making some scratch. It's the Gday Gridirons.
Bloody best bets. All right, yeah, well, after the success of last week, boys, why don't we should just make a whole show dedicated to betting at this point, because we're clearly good at it. We
are 1 week wonders, let me tell you that. In case the listener is wondering, we killed it in our own personal betting group. So, yeah, we're going to be retiring to Miami and fishing with Jimmy Johnson here pretty soon. So.
And maybe we'll be tired like Anthony Richardson of it too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm tired of life right now, so why not? Brad, Nick's picks though. Come on, he's gone. Look, Nick loves keeping score, and I haven't kept score of ours, and I probably need to go back so I can just keep score of mine and Brad's, just so we can, I don't know, keep Nick honest a little bit. Yeah. But Nick's 16-5 on the season. 6-0 the last 2 weeks, Nick.
Why wouldn't you keep score when you're doing as good as what he's doing, man? It's just the guy's unreal. He's on fire.
I should be keeping our score though. That's the problem. I haven't been doing that.
Yeah.
Nick, what money are you going to make for everybody this week in Nick's picks?
That's right. Mate, better than real estate, better than stocks, better than crypto, mate. This is how it is at the moment.
It's Nick's picks.
76% strike rate we're at the moment. I don't know if we'll ever get this high again, but yes, 6-0. So going for the hat trick this week. Now, this first one, I cannot believe they're underdogs. I can't believe that they're underdogs. Houston plus 1.5 at the Jets. There is no way that they should be the underdogs against the Jets. The Jets are horrible. Now, when this goes live, for everyone to be able to listen, this is either going to sound really good or really bad, because this game would have already happened by now. But Houston plus 1.5, they should even take them outright. Take them outright. Don't worry about if they've got no Diggs, no Collins. Jets are rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. The other one. LA Chargers at the Browns. I am doing a bit of fun police. Under 42.5 total points. Out of the 15 games that combined these two teams have played, only 4 times have they gone over in those games, whatever the total was. So that under 42.5, both these teams usually don't score more than 3 touchdowns in a game. So it should be something where it should be able to cover. The Chargers are pretty good defensively. The Browns can get better defensively as well. Winston's had a game under his belt, so the Chargers will have a little bit more film on him and what he'll look like with the Browns. And finally, now this is a bit of a weird one. It might be contradictory, but I've looked at the numbers with this. Daniel Jones on a regular basis usually does suck. But you know who he doesn't suck against? The Commanders. He is 5-2 against Washington in his career. Plus 3.5, the Giants at home against Washington. Washington coming off an emotional win. A stolen game, technically, as we classify winning on a Hail Mary. The Giants haven't been too far away from, beating some better teams than what they are. Like the Steelers, they weren't too far away from. They played a lot better than what people think. Kept it close with Dallas as well. So this is definitely a spot where at home against Washington, I think this is probably a game where we spoke about before. Every good team sort of has a game where they, in their division that they should win, and they probably don't have it. This is probably that game for Washington, I feel, in New York.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, Nick and I are actually on the opposite sides of that bet, the Washington Giants bet. So I'm going the opposite direction on that. I just feel like, personally, I feel like the Commanders they're just playing too good, and I feel like Jaden Daniels is just, even he showed that he could kind of struggle through it with that rib injury, and I feel like the Giants just don't have what it takes to keep their defense to keep the Commanders off the field. And the thing about the Giants, they're not on that defensive side of the ball. They're not suffering any great injuries. Like, they're a healthy group, but yet they just can't stop anybody or anything. So I think on a short week, it's going to be really, really interesting just to see what kind of schemes they come out with. But I think Daniels is just playing so good right now. I'm actually going with the Commanders on that one. Sorry, Ian, were you going to say something about this particular?
No, you keep going.
Okay, yeah. So that's one of my bets, and then the other one is the Chargers at the Browns, like what Nick mentioned. Nick took the under. I'm taking the Chargers at only giving up 1.5 points. I just feel like the Browns are getting a little bit too much of a Winston bump on this, and in terms of the points. And the fact is, Winston had 2 passes that should have been completely intercepted. They were just gifts. And if you haven't listened to his post-game press conference, you got to go listen to his post-game press conference about it. It's just hilarious, that guy. But
his pre-game press conference, Brad, was just
was good. It okay?
Yeah.
Have you not? I'll have to show it to you after we finish.
No,
it is so.
I haven't listened to his pregame, but his postgame one was just. I thought it was hilarious. So
he is. The man has to be a preacher when he finishes.
Oh yeah,
it's just amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think you keep going, Brad. But I'm pretty sure
it's worth watching, listeners. If you haven't had a chance, go and listen to the Jameis Winston presser. But I just feel like that Chargers defense is good, really, really good. Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
Yep. I just want to. Hard Knocks in season kicks off this week too. A reminder: all AFC North teams, and you know what that means now. Jameis Winston, Hard Knocks. I'm so here for it. It's just
I love it.
Find it.
I love it.
Find it if you can. Go to a torrent site and go old school if you need to. But yeah, you'll be able to stream it in Australia for sure.
You hope.
In season. In season's done by HBO.
Yeah, so we'll get the in season one. I still haven't watched the off season one, which I'm pissed about. Yeah. But anyway. And then my final bet is a Tony Pollard anytime touchdown. Tony's been having kind of a sneaky decent season. So and he's going up against this Patriots defense that is given up 11 touchdowns to running backs. So they're second worst, only behind the Carolina for giving up rushing touchdowns. So I would go with a Tony Pollard prop bet. on this one, just because I think he's gonna they're gonna control the ball. They're gonna run against that soft Jared Mayo defense, and they're gonna be able to do something. So those are my three.
All right, well, thanks, Brad. Awesome. 3 winning bets right there.
I don't say that. That means I'm going to have one lost.
Yeah, I don't know what you two are doing. Hell, we can't go 9-0. I'm going to have to pick a 10th one just because of you two. Yeah?
We're going to have to hedge bets. So hopefully, Sportsbet's not listening. Hedge the bets so like some way there's a profit either way.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out. In honour of our NFC North podcast this week, I've gone for an NFC North multi for 2 running backs in the NFC North, David Montgomery and Aaron Jones, both 100-plus rush receive yards, so all-purpose yards, 100-plus for both is going to be a multi. Just, have a bit of a swipe at the NFC North stuff. Look, I think the Lions against the Packers are weirdly good against running backs, but then still let them have yards. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition that they have. The running backs tend to get a few yards on the ground, but then also make up some yardage in a passing game against the Packers because the Packers are woeful against the pass. So that just happens. I think we're going to see a pretty interesting game this week. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be outstanding against them as well, and I think it's just the way that they have that double-headed monster at the Lions against the Packers. Is going to be interesting. So I'm just going to go Monty with 100+. AJ against a Colts team who what you've always said previously, Colts cannot stop a run at all. So Aaron Jones on the ground, 100+ yards, and 100+ rush receiving. So that's the multi. The NFC North multi. The other one, weirdly, is to do with the same game. And let's start off with tripling down this week.
Yeah, when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
That's right. Baker Mayfield, he's back. The last 2 weeks solid, I've gone Baker Mayfield, 250+ and a TD, and it has come off clutch. And they've been ridiculous lines. Something like over $2, $2.20 even they were at for Baker to achieve that the last couple of weeks. So you know what? We're tripling down. We're going Baker, 250+ and a TD once again against the Kansas City Chiefs. There's going to be a lot of throwing the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs, I think. Just probably trying to come back from deficits, to be honest. And then the Bucks themselves have 8.5 start to the Chiefs at the moment. So they're giving the Chiefs an 8.5 start. So I'm going to take the Bucks plus 8.5. The Chiefs haven't blown out anybody this year. And we were talking about it earlier, Nick. We're going to, the Bucks are probably good for 20 points this week. So are we saying that the Chiefs are going to score 30? I don't think so. So Bucks plus 8.5. I reckon that's a pretty good money in the bank kind of bet there for me. Ian's Dogs going off.
I like it. Well, based on your bets last week, you had the best win ratio of us. So
I take bigger swings, Brad. That's all it is.
Yes, you do. You do take big swings. I looked at some of your bets and I was like, wow, but they paid off.
I take bigger swings. I take the fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I aim for fun. I aim for enjoyable. It's just a shame that my old mate
Unlimited
isn't playing this week. Otherwise, we'd probably be taking a bit of a swing there too. So many drops. There's probably going to be drops from Brad from this episode, to be honest, from here on out as well. After discovering his hate of Halloween, we're just going to be going off. So that is bloody best bets for this week. And as always, as we always say, the betting information on Gday Gridiron is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only. There are no guarantees that tips we provide will provide success or profits. All sports tips provided are our opinions, and punters are encouraged to use this information in order to form their own opinion about the outcome of a sporting event. Bet at your own risk, and always consider what you could lose before placing a bet. All right, boys. Great podcast. Is there before we get off, we're just over an hour. Anything you boys want to bring up? Anything you want to say just before we send it out?
I'm just grateful that I could finally figure out who Mr. Unlimited is this week. So thank you for exposing me to the finer things in life.
Don't watch his video where he's doing the Subway commercial, because that pisses me off the most.
Oh, we might have to show Brad the Subway commercial next. The Danger Witch might have to come out next. We'd be educating Brad on viral content, one video at a time over here.
I love it.
All right, boys, let's get out of here. On behalf of myself, Nick, and Brad, thank you very much for joining us. You can catch all our socials and stuff at the AGN Mothership. There's Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network, where you'll find all the stuff related to our show, Aussie NFL Fantasy, Manjot's Pastry Press on Instagram and YouTube, and all the other stuff to do with the Aussie Gridiron Network. You can catch all that at that Linktree. Please go and visit that and hit us up and tell us how much you are loving the show, and maybe share some best bets of your own. So until next time and our week 9 overreaction show, see you later.
The Gday Gridiron podcast is brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, a network of gridiron content made by Australians for Australians. Check out our other programs, the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, No Huddle Dynasty, and Pastry Press NFL. And don't forget to like and follow us and the whole of the Aussie Gridiron Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Pastry Press on YouTube.